Ready to dive into some South American myths and legends?
I'm ready. I think these stories offer a fascinating window into the soul of a continent.
Totally. We're going deep with this one, exploring excerpts from mitosdesuramerica.pdf. It's a collection of tales straight from the source, and get this, it's all in Spanish.
Oh, that's fantastic. You know, what always strikes me about South American myths is how they weave together so many different cultural threads, indigenous beliefs, African traditions, Spanish Catholicism. They all blend together to create these incredibly rich and vibrant
It's
narratives.
like a cultural tapestry, right?
Yeah.
Each story revealing a different thread, a different perspective. And we're not just talking about ancient history here. These myths are still very much alive in many parts of South America, shaping people's beliefs and traditions to this day.
Absolutely. They're more than just stories. They're reflections of a cultural identity that's endured for centuries.
Exactly. So, where do we even begin with a topic as vast as South American mythology?
Hmm. Well, how about we start high in the Andes Mountains?
I say, I'm always up for a good mountain myth. What's on the agenda?
We're diving into the story of Lake Titicaca, one of the highest navigable lakes in the world, straddling the border between Peru and Bolivia.
Lake Titicaca. It's a place I've always dreamed of visiting. The air is thin, the scenery is breathtaking, and the legends, well, let's just say they're as big as the lake itself.
That's a great way to put it. The story we're about to uncover explains the origins of this legendary lake, but it's more than just a geological explanation. It's a story about the delicate balance between humanity and nature, about respect, responsibility, and the consequences of our actions.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. Set the stage for us. How does this story begin?
Picture this: a lush, fertile valley high in the Andes. The people there lived in perfect harmony with nature, their lives deeply intertwined with the mountains themselves.
I can already picture its snow-capped peaks, crystal clear streams, and this incredible sense of peace and tranquility.
Exactly. But there's a twist. You see, the Andean people believe that these mountains are alive, inhabited by powerful spirits called Apis.
Epus.
Yeah, they're like mountain guardians, protectors of the land and its people. They're a force to be reckoned with, both benevolent and fearsome, capable of great generosity and terrible wrath.
Okay, so we're talking about a belief system that's deeply rooted in respect for nature, recognizing the power that lies within these mountains.
Precisely. And the people in this valley, they understood this implicitly. They lived by a strict set of rules, guidelines passed down through generations to ensure harmony with the Apis.
I bet those rules were taken very seriously. So what happened? When did things start to go sideways?
Well, as with many myths, it all started with the Forbidden Act. The people were told they could roam freely, cultivate the land, and live in peace, but there was one rule they could never, ever break. They could never climb a particular mountain in the heart of their territory.
Why that mountain in particular? What made it so special?
That mountain, they were told, was sacred. It was the dwelling place of the most powerful Apu, and at its peak burned an eternal flame, a symbol of the god's power and presence.
It's like that classic forbidden fruit scenario, right? You know there's a line you shouldn't cross, but that only makes you want to cross it even more. Human nature, I guess.
Exactly. And as fate would have it, that's precisely what happened. A mischievous spirit, jealous of the people's happiness and prosperity, decided to stir up some trouble. He whispered doubts in their ears, planting seeds of discontent.
Oh no, I can already sense things are about to go downhill fast. What did this troublemaking spirit say?
He told them that the Apis were holding them back, keeping the best for themselves. He questioned their obedience, their willingness to blindly follow rules without question.
Playing on their doubts and insecurities. Classic manipulation tactic. So what happened? Did they give in to the temptation?
They did. Driven by a mixture of curiosity, ambition, and a newfound sense of rebellion, a group of people decided to break the one rule they were given and climb the forbidden peak.
And I'm guessing the Apis were not too pleased about this little act of defiance.
Let's just say the Apis were furious. The myth says that the mountains themselves trembled with rage, and the sky turned a fiery red with the god's anger. The people had broken the sacred trust, and now they would face the consequences.
So what happened? How did the Apis unleash their wrath?
The myth says that they unleashed a torrent of punishment, calling upon their animal guardians, hundreds of pumas, to drive the rule breakers from their lands.
Hundreds of pumas. That's terrifying. It makes you think about how people in ancient times really lived alongside these powerful animals.
It does. The earth shook beneath their paws, their roars echoing through the valleys as they descended upon the terrified people. It was a scene of chaos and carnage as the pumas, carrying out the Apis' will, drove the rule breakers from their homes.
It sounds like something straight out of a nightmare. Was there any hope for the people?
The myth says that the chaos and destruction were so great that they caught the attention of Inti, the sun god. He looked down and witnessed the devastation, the fear, the sheer scale of the punishment.
Oh no, I don't think Ntiti getting involved is a good sign. What happened when the sun god saw what was happening? Did he intervene?
Well, seeing his children, the people of the valley, suffering like that, it filled Inti with a profound sadness, a grief so deep that his tears began to flow.
Wait, hold on. The sun god's tears. We're talking tears on an epic scale here.
Oh, absolutely. These weren't just any tears. These were tears of the sun god, potent and powerful. And as they rained down upon the earth, they began to swell the rivers and streams, overflowing their banks, flooding the valley.
It's like the earth itself is weeping, mirroring the sorrow of the gods. So what happened to the people? What about the pumas?
The floodwaters rose higher and higher, engulfing everything in their path. Most of the people caught in the deluge were swept away. As for those fearsome pumas, legend has it that they were turned to stone, frozen in place as a stark reminder of the Apis' power and the consequences of defying their will.
Wow, that's intense. So from the tears of the sun god, Lake Titicaca was born.
Exactly. As the floodwaters receded, they left behind the vast, shimmering expanse of Lake Titicaca. And those stone pumas, they're still there, scattered around the lake, silent witnesses to this ancient tale of rebellion and divine retribution.
Wow, it's like a tangible link to the past, a reminder that these myths are often intertwined with real places, real landscapes.
Absolutely. And speaking of landscapes, for our next story, we're going to journey south to a place known for its stark beauty and untamed spirit. Patagonia.
Patagonia. I always wanted to go there. The land of glaciers, windswept plains, and penguins. What's the myth we're about to uncover?
This one's about the origin of Patagonia's wildflowers. Legend has it that this vast, windswept landscape wasn't always a tapestry of vibrant colors. In fact, it said that flowers were once completely absent from this dramatic landscape.
Really? That's hard to imagine. Patagonia without flowers. What happened? How did they get there?
Well, as with many of these myths, it all started with a captivating woman. Her name was Caspi, a skilled weaver known throughout the land for her kindness, her beauty, and the intricate textiles she created.
Ooh. I'm already sensing a love story here. Tell me more about Caspi.
Well, as the story goes, Caspi caught the eye of a powerful deity, none other than Karut, the god of thunder. Now, Karut, as you might imagine, was a force to be reckoned with, powerful, impulsive, used to getting his own way.
So he saw Caspi and decided he had to have her. Was he the love at first sight type?
You could say that, but Karut was also, how shall we say, a bit lacking in the subtlety department. Instead of trying to woo Caspi, he decided to take a more direct approach.
Let me guess.
Yeah.
He kidnapped her. Not exactly the smoothest move.
Well, you know what they say about gods and their methods. Karut, in all his thunderous glory, swooped down from the heavens and carried Caspi off to his glacial palace high in the Andes.
A glacial palace. That sounds, well, chilly, to say the least. I can't imagine Caspi was too thrilled about this turn of events.
She wasn't. She found herself a prisoner in this icy fortress, heartbroken and longing for her home, her family, the warmth of the sun on her face, and as she wept, her tears, each one a drop of pure sorrow, froze in the bitter glacial air.
Oh no, poor Caspi. It's like her very essence is being frozen, trapped in this icy prison.
And Karut. Well, it seems even gods aren't immune to a guilty conscience. He realized that forcing someone to love him wasn't exactly the path to a happy ending. He rushed back to his palace, hoping to make amends, to set things right, but it was too late.
Too late. What do you mean? What happened?
When he arrived, Caspi was nowhere to be found. Her physical form had vanished, but her spirit, her essence, lived on preserved within the glacier, frozen alongside her tears.
So she was gone, but not truly gone. Her spirit lingered on in the ice. What happened next?
Spring arrived, and as the warmth of the sun began to melt the Patagonian ice, something miraculous occurred.
Okay, this is where I think I know where you're going with this, but tell me anyway.
Caspi's tears, those frozen droplets of sorrow, melted and seeped into the ground, but they didn't disappear. Instead, they carried with them a piece of Caspi's resilient spirit. And you know what sprang forth from those thawed tears?
The first flowers of Patagonia.
Exactly. Each petal, a testament to Caspi's enduring spirit, her unyielding hope. It's said that Tehuelche people who still call Patagonia home named these delicate blooms Caspi in her honor.
That's beautiful. It makes you think about how, even in the harshest of landscapes, life finds a way. And how sometimes beauty can emerge from sorrow.
It does. It speaks to the power of nature to create and recreate, to find balance, even in the face of loss and heartache.
It's a good reminder that there's often more to a landscape than meets the eye. Every corner of the world holds myths and legends, stories whispered on the wind, carried on the currents of rivers, etched into the very fabric of the land.
Speaking of stories etched into the land, for our next tale, we're going deep into the heart of the Amazon rainforest to uncover the legend of cassava, a food that's as steeped in myth and tradition as it is in flavor.
Cassava, or manioc, as I've also heard it called. It's one of those foods that I know is a staple for millions of people around the world, but I have to admit, I don't know much about its origins.
Well, get ready, because this story takes us to the heart of Brazil, to the land of the Tupi people, and it all revolves around a chief, his daughter, and a baby born under unusual circumstances.
Okay, I'm intrigued. This sounds like it's going to be good. Okay, so we've journeyed from the heights of the Andes to the depths of the Amazon.
Encountered jealous gods,
Heartbroken chiefs.
and even a fire-stealing lizard.
But for our final tale.
We're shifting gears a bit.
Oh, how so? What's on the agenda for our last myth of the day?
Well, we've talked a lot about ancient stories, legends passed down through generations.
Right, those whispers of the past that still resonate today.
Exactly. But for this one, we're diving into a belief system that's so powerful, so deeply ingrained in Venezuelan culture that it's practically a religion in itself.
You talk about Maria Leonza, the goddess of the mountain, right?
Yeah.
I've heard her name before, but I have to admit I don't know much about her story.
Get ready, because it's a wild one. Maria Leonza's story is a testament to the power of syncretism, that fusion of different belief systems. We're talking indigenous magic, African spirituality, and even elements of Catholicism, all converging in this one captivating figure.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued. So take us back to the beginning. Who is Maria Leonza, and how did this incredible fusion of beliefs come to be?
The story begins, like many good myths do, with a prophecy. A powerful shaman from the Neriwa tribe, a tribe deeply connected to the natural world, foresaw the birth of a child with mesmerizing green eyes.
Green eyes, that's pretty specific. What was so special about green eyes?
Well, in this particular tribe, green eyes were incredibly rare, almost unheard of.
Ah, so a sign of something different, something special.
Exactly. The shaman believed that this child, a girl, would possess extraordinary power. He proclaimed that she would hold the destiny of the tribe in her hands, bringing both great misfortune and ultimate salvation.
Wow, talk about a heavy burden for a child to carry. Born under a sign of contradiction, destined for both greatness and destruction. It's giving me chills just thinking about it.
It's a classic storytelling device, isn't it? That tension between opposing forces. And as fate would have it, the chief's daughter soon gave birth to a baby girl with the most striking green eyes anyone had ever seen. They named her Yara.
Yara, the green-eyed child of prophecy. Did they embrace her destiny?
Well, that's where things get a bit complicated. The tribe was torn. Some saw Yara as a blessing, a beacon of hope. Others, fearing the prophecy's darker pronouncements, believed she had to be sacrificed.
Sacrificed. Oh no, not another sacrifice. It seems like every time someone is seen as different or unusual in these stories, there's always a push to sacrifice them to appease some higher power. Pretty grim when you think about it.
It's a recurring theme in mythology, isn't it? The fear of the unknown, the desire to regain a sense of control in the face of uncertainty. In Yara's case, the sacrifice was meant to appease a powerful anaconda, the guardian spirit of the waters.
An anaconda. Okay, now that's a whole other level of fear. So what happened? Did they go through with it?
This is where Yara's story takes a turn. Her father, the chief, couldn't bear the thought of sacrificing his own flesh and blood. He defied the tribe's demands and decided to hide Yara in the most remote and protected place he could think of. The towering Sorte Mountains.
The Sorte Mountains. Weren't they said to be incredibly dangerous,
Mhm.
full of all sorts of mythical creatures and treacherous terrain?
That's right. But the chief believed that the mountains, as dangerous as they were, offered the best chance for Yara to survive. He entrusted her safety to a group of loyal warriors who vowed to protect her with their lives. And so, Yara grew up surrounded by the raw beauty and untamed spirit of the mountains, far from the reach of those who sought to sacrifice her.
It's like those origin stories of superheroes finding their powers through trials and isolation.
Yeah.
Did those mountains shape her into the goddess she would become?
Absolutely. Removed from the confines of the tribe's expectations and fears, Yara flourished. She roamed freely, learning the secrets of the natural world, her spirit as wild and untamed as the mountains themselves.
So no fear of those mythical creatures.
It's said that she befriended them. The animals were drawn to her, sensing her innate connection to the earth, Jaguars wouldn't harm her, birds would sing with her, even snakes would approach her without fear.
She sounds incredible. But what about that prophecy and that terrifying anaconda? Did they ever re-enter the picture?
Well, destiny, as they say, has a way of playing out as it should. One day, while Yara's protectors were distracted, some even whisper it was enchantment, she wandered off, drawn by an irresistible curiosity. She came across a pool of water, its surface as smooth as glass, and as she gazed at her reflection, captivated by her own image, the water began to churn and swirl.
Oh no, I think I know what's coming. That anaconda.
You guessed it, the giant serpent, drawn perhaps by fate itself, rose from the depths, its scales shimmering like emeralds in the dappled sunlight.
I'm picturing a scene straight out of a movie. What happened next? Did it attack?
You might expect a dramatic showdown, a battle between a young girl and a giant serpent.
That's usually how these stories go.
Right. But this wasn't a scene of terror or violence. It was more like a meeting of kindred spirits, a recognition of shared power. The anaconda saw in Yara the fulfillment of the prophecy, the embodiment of both nature's power and its potential for destruction.
Wow, so instead of fearing the anaconda, she was meant to connect with it, to embrace it as part of her destiny.
Exactly. It's at this point that the myth gets a bit murky, as myths often do. Some stories say that the anaconda, recognizing Yara's true nature, bestowed upon her a portion of its own power, transforming her into a goddess. Others believe that her time in the mountains, her deep connection to the natural world, had awakened a dormant power within her, a power amplified by her encounter with the anaconda.
So it's this fusion of indigenous magic, symbolized by the anaconda, and her own innate connection to nature that elevates her to goddess status.
Precisely. And that's what makes Maria Leonza, as she came to be known, such a powerful figure in Venezuelan culture. She embodies this duality, this blend of strength and compassion, of nature's beauty and its ferocity.
I can see why people would be drawn to her. She's a reminder that even in the face of fear and uncertainty, there's a power within us, a connection to something greater than ourselves.
And her story, like all the stories we've shared today, reminds us of the enduring power of myth.
It's incredible how these ancient tales, passed down through generations, can still resonate so deeply with us today.
They offer a glimpse into the hearts and minds of the people who came before us, their hopes, their fears, their dreams, their understanding of the world around them.
They remind us that even though times change and cultures evolve, there are certain universal truths: the power of nature, the importance of community, the enduring strength of the human spirit that connect us all. And sometimes those truths are best expressed through the magic of myth.